The morning sun cast long shadows across the courthouse steps as Marcus Thompson approached the imposing building. Dressed in a simple navy sweater and dark jeans, he looked like any ordinary citizen arriving for court business. His polished black shoes clicked rhythmically against the marble floor as he entered the main hall. Immediately, Marcus felt the weight of hostile stares. Two uniformed officers near the metal detector exchanged knowing glances, their eyes following his every movement. The security guard's hand instinctively moved closer to his radio. Whispered conversations ceased as he passed by groups of court staff. Marcus maintained his calm composure, his trained observational skills noting every detail. The receptionist's lip curled slightly when their eyes met. A bailiff shook his head disapprovingly. The atmosphere crackled with unspoken assumptions and barely concealed prejudice. He had expected this reaction. Today would test not only the justice system he served, but also his own patience and resolve. Officer Jake Martinez leaned against the information desk, nudging his partner Tony Williams with his elbow. "Look what we got here," Jake said with a smirk, watching Marcus approach the elevator. "Another troublemaker, I bet," Tony replied, stepping directly into Marcus's path. "Hey buddy, where do you think you're going?" Marcus stopped politely. "Good morning, officers. I'm here for courthouse business." Jake laughed mockingly. "Courthouse business? Let me guess, another court date you're gonna miss." He looked Marcus up and down dismissively. "What's it this time? Theft? Drugs? You people always think you can just waltz in here like you own the place," Tony added, crossing his arms. "This is a respectable institution." Marcus kept his voice steady and professional. "I assure you, officers, I have legitimate business here today." "Sure you do," Jake scoffed. "They all say that. Why don't you save us some time and tell us which courtroom you're supposed to be in for your hearing?" Marcus simply smiled calmly, choosing not to reveal his true identity just yet. Tony stepped closer, his voice growing more aggressive. "Don't get smart with us, pal. We asked you a simple question." Jake pulled out his handcuffs, jangling them threateningly. "Maybe we should run your name through the system right now. I guarantee we'll find something." "Officers, there's no need for that," Marcus said calmly, discreetly activating the recording app on his phone. A court clerk named Sarah joined the harassment, rolling her eyes. "Great, another one wasting our time and taxpayer money. These people never learn," added bailiff Rick Stevens, shaking his head. "Always causing problems in our courthouse." Tony grabbed Marcus's arm roughly. "Empty your pockets. Now. I bet you're carrying something you shouldn't be." "This is harassment," Marcus stated clearly for his recording. "Harassment?" Jake laughed loudly. "This is called doing our job. Maybe if your kind respected the law, we wouldn't have to treat you like criminals." Several other staff members gathered around, some chuckling at the officer's comments. Marcus remained perfectly still, enduring each insult and threat while his device captured every word. His jaw tightened slightly, but his professional training kept him composed despite the mounting humiliation. The heavy courtroom doors swung open with authority. Judge Patricia Roberts entered, her black robes flowing behind her as she surveyed the commotion in her hallway. Her eyes immediately locked onto Marcus, and her expression shifted from confusion to complete recognition. "Director Thompson," Judge Roberts called out, her voice carrying across the now silent corridor. "What on earth is happening here?" The word director hung in the air like a thunderclap. Tony's grip on Marcus's arm loosened instantly. Jake's cocky smirk vanished, replaced by dawning horror. Sarah the clerk took an involuntary step backward, her face draining of color. "Your Honor," Marcus replied respectfully, straightening his posture. "I was simply trying to attend today's federal oversight meeting." Judge Roberts looked furious as she took in the scene. "Officers, step away from Director Thompson immediately." The gathered crowd of courthouse staff began whispering frantically among themselves. Rick Stevens's eyes widened in terror as the reality of their situation became crystal clear. Jake and Tony stood frozen, realizing their catastrophic mistake far too late. Marcus reached into his jacket pocket with deliberate slowness, withdrawing a leather credential holder. He flipped it open, revealing the gold FBI director badge that gleamed under the courthouse lights. Marcus Thompson, director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, he announced clearly, his voice echoing through the now silent hallway. The badge seemed to pose with authority as every person within sight stared in stunned disbelief. Complete silence fell over the courthouse like a heavy blanket. Even the distant sounds of typing and phone conversations ceased. Jake's face turned ashen white, beads of sweat forming on his forehead. Tony's mouth hung open in shock, his hands trembling visibly. Sarah covered her mouth in horror, while Rick Stevens looked like he might faint. The golden FBI seal caught the light as Marcus held his credentials steady, letting everyone absorb the full weight of their actions. The most powerful law enforcement official in the country had just been treated like a common criminal in their own courthouse. Marcus closed his credentials and addressed the gathered crowd with quiet authority. Today has shown me exactly why federal oversight of local law enforcement remains critical. Justice cannot exist when assumptions replace facts, when prejudice clouds judgment. Judge Roberts stepped forward decisively. Officers Martinez and Williams, you are suspended immediately pending full investigation. Security, escort them out. Jake and Tony were led away in shame, their careers effectively over. Marcus continued, this incident will not be forgotten, but it will serve a greater purpose. Real change happens when we acknowledge these problems and commit to fixing them. Court staff began dispersing quietly, many looking ashamed of their participation. Marcus felt a mixture of disappointment and hope. The system had failed today, but justice had ultimately prevailed. Let this be a reminder, he concluded, that respect and dignity should be given to every person who walks through these doors. That is how we build a better tomorrow. The courthouse slowly returned to normal, but the impact of this day would resonate far beyond these walls.